Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Oh Shoot. I'm your host, Cassidy Lynne, and happy Monday. Welcome back. We're back with another episode. And did you miss me? Because I missed you. I missed you guys. It's been a minute. It's been a week, but we're back. And today we're talking about pricing. Great topic to talk about, especially this time of year. Some of you guys might be questioning your pricing. Some of you guys might be feeling like you are doubting your pricing, or you're not priced enough, or you're feeling like I'm too busy. So that's what we're going to talk about. Pricing with a purpose. So pricing is what we're talking about today. I wanted to give you guys a little update on my new camera journey. So I told you guys that I got the Sony A9 III. And we got rid of one of our other A9 IIs. And so far, she has been magnificent. She has been the moment. She captures the moment. The camera itself is so fast. I am afraid to bring up my shutter, not my shutter speed, but the drive mode. I'm afraid to bring it into medium shooting or medium or high, and then high continuous. I'm afraid because it takes so many photos so fast. I don't want to be left with 500,000 images at the end of the night. I already deal with that. So that being said, I've been loving her. The Sony A9 III, everybody. Great camera. Loving it. I've been thinking about trying to get another film camera. I have a film camera in my closet that was Charlie's mom's camera. And I'm just afraid because it's fully manual, but I feel like I should just mess around and try it. So yeah, I also, this is very random, but I read a book. And it's about a photographer. It's like a summer romance novel, but it's about a photographer. And I thought it was interesting. It's called One Golden Summer. It's by Carly Fortune. It's a good book. I liked it. But the main character is literally a photographer. And it talks about how she likes to hide behind the camera. She does film, all sorts of stuff. So I thought it was cute. I was like, wait, I feel like main characters in books are never photographers. I think the concept of being a photographer is very interesting. At least I think it's an interesting job. So I'm like, why don't we have more books about photographers these days? I don't know. Anyway, let's get into the episode. This episode might be a little bit shorter than usual. I do apologize, but you guys know I love you, and we've always got fun episodes coming in the future. Not saying that this episode isn't fun, but I feel like with my podcast, I have to do a mix of fun episodes and more serious episodes, educational episodes, but also more fun, lighthearted episodes. So this is going to be a little more serious in the sense of what we're talking about is serious and it's numbers. That's kind of intense for us, but I'm here to make it easier and lighter for you guys because numbers are scary, but they don't have to be. So let's talk about it. So a few opening thoughts, if you will. This episode is definitely going to be helpful if you feel like your pricing is burning you out. If you're feeling like my pricing is too low to the point where I am so busy that I'm burnt out. Okay. Also, if you feel like you're stuck in a busy but broke cycle, that's also a great person to listen to this episode. And if you're unsure if your rates are actually sustainable, that's what we're going to talk about. So one of the first things that I want to mention is your pricing. It doesn't have to be copy and paste what someone else's pricing is. And I do think pricing transparency is important, knowing what someone charges before they just reach out on your website. I think getting a ballpark of what people charge is important, but using prices and other photographers' pricing as 100% your full guideline for picking your prices, I don't think is completely right. Like, you need to be focused. Yes, it's important to know what everyone else is charging, but at the end of the day, what works for you, and that's all that matters, right? Other photographers are not paying your bills. You are paying your bills. Okay. So, for me, a big thing that I realized at a pretty early stage in my career was when I was not charging enough. And this was my first full year as a wedding photographer. So I had like a half of a year where I had like 4 or 5 weddings booked, and they were just kind of like my beginner weddings. But then the next year was when I realized, okay, my prices are really low. I'm getting booked left and right. And I'm so busy. I'm tired. I'm tired of this, grandpa. Like, it's too much. Okay. That was the year right before COVID. So 2019. I was literally just like, bro, like, I can't handle all of this. Like, I want to say it was 20, 30, it might have been 20 weddings booked, but I was like pricing myself super low. I was traveling wherever and whenever. So where I lived in upstate New York, I wouldn't necessarily say that there were a bunch of weddings in town, like within 30 minutes. It was always like an hour plus drive wherever I had to go. There was a point where one of my first weddings was all the way in Delaware, and I drove 6 hours for it. I drove the night before and then shot the whole wedding the day of, and then drove back the next day. And like, I was doing that pretty consistently. I drove 6 hours to New York City to do an elopement for like $1,500 or something crazy, and then drove back. Like, I was just doing whatever I needed at whatever price I needed. And there is a time and place for that, for sure. Like, if you're just building the portfolio, you got to do what you got to do. But we're going to talk about pricing today to help you figure out what prices are actually sustainable for you. And I want to say that if you're relatively beginner-ish, this episode is going to be helpful, but it's not going to be like the Bible for you right now, because you kind of have to just like book what you can, get what you can in your portfolio. And then we're going to talk about the pricing thing. It's kind of like the step 2 of it all. Okay. So let's get into it. So first thing we're going to talk about is the math of it all. And actually, a lot of this episode is going to be math. So if you don't like math, I'm sorry. I kind of like math, but not in the sense of like I did like AP calculus. Like, I like math because I think numbers are very like factual. So it's helpful for me to see numbers because I know like, okay, this is a fact. This number is real type of thing. So first I want to talk about why photographers aren't always profitable. Okay. So you might relate to some of these too. So not me calling you guys out, but gotta do what you gotta do. If your pricing is based on feelings and not facts. So that's kind of what I was literally just talking about. I like numbers because they're facts. And I think pricing's a fact. Numbers are numbers. Money is money. Like, these are facts. So pricing based on your facts instead of on your feelings. If you're basing your prices on your feelings, you might not be profitable because you feel bad for the person that's asking you for a discount. So you offer them a session for $50. And then by the end of it, you drove 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. You only made $10 an hour. Like, that sucks. You know what I mean? So, most photographers also aren't profitable because they copy like other local photographers' rates. And I don't want to seem like a hypocrite here or contradict myself, because I have recommended on this podcast that if you don't know what to price yourself, base it on the people around you. Like, and I still stand by that because I do think it's a good place to start, but I also don't think it is the only place to start. And I don't think it should be the only deciding factor in figuring out your pricing. So if you're just copying other photographers' rates, that could be a reason you might not be profitable. If you're forgetting about all of the outside time that it takes to plan a shoot, to edit a shoot, to communicate with your client, whatever, those are things that can cause you not to be profitable. Or if you're someone that fears that no one's going to book you if your prices go up. We all face this fear. Some of us more than others, but we've all faced the fear of like, I'm bumping up my prices. I'm afraid that if I do this, no one's going to book with me. And truly, you never know until you do it. If you are jumping $5,000 in your package price overnight, yeah, maybe that might be the case. But it's not always going to be the case if you're doing it gradual, which we'll talk about that too. So if you're busy, it doesn't always mean that you are profitable. We're going to give a step-by-step on how you can price yourself to actually profit. Okay. And this is important because yes, we all love photography. You're listening to this podcast. You probably like photography. Do you like photography enough to shoot someone's wedding for free and deliver all the photos for free? No. Like, yeah, I like photography. I don't like wedding photography enough to offer it as a free service and never ever get paid for it, or only get paid $5 for it. Okay. What we're doing as photographers, it's a service and we're making money. It costs you time. It costs you energy. Like, you should be making money from that. Okay. So step one for how to make a profit and price yourself for profit is to know your photography costs. Okay. So think of things like your gear, your software, your subscriptions, your insurance, prep time, email time, your editing time, your delivery time. Factor all of that in. A good place to start is being like, okay, I am booking the shoot. Let's say it's an engagement session. How much time have I spent with my prep work, my emailing? Let's say in total an hour or 2 hours with all that. Then think about how long does it take me to edit it? Is it 3 hours, whatever? And then how long did it take me to shoot it? So in total, let's say we've got a total of like 5 or 6 hours that you have to put in for one shoot. Okay. That's a great place to start. Okay. Then also think like if you're shooting weddings or if you have assistants, what do you have to pay second shooters or assistants? What do you pay for a client management software like Honeybook or Dubsado? What do you pay for that? What do you pay for your client gifts? Like, what are quite literally all of your expenses in your business? There's a lot of different things. Like, it depends on what you offer truly. But for me, there's all of these things listed and beyond. Like, I feel like I pay so much in travel too. And most of the time my clients cover my travel. But even just like the cost of certain, like, I feel like there are so many random things I'm buying for shoots and stuff. It can get out of hand. So make sure you know your costs. That is step one. Know your costs. And then step two is set your annual take home goal. So for this example, we're going to say that you want to take home $75,000. Okay. When we have this number of $75,000, that's not how much you book in total. That $75,000 is after all of your expenses, after all the things factored in, your taxes, all of it. That's how much you want to take home. So the actual number then that you need to be making from photography is much higher. So let me give you the example. With this number of 75K, you have to factor in 30%-ish for taxes. Okay. You also have to factor in how much your expenses are. So let's say it was a year where you had to buy a good amount of gear, maybe a new laptop, couple lenses, couple camera bodies, whatever. Let's say that year you have $20,000 in expenses. Your revenue goal is $120K. So if you want to take home $75K, factor in 30% for taxes, 20K for expenses. That's actually $120K you have to make, which is really crazy that $120K after all those things boils down to $75K. That's like $45,000 in expenses. That's wild. But you know, it is what it is. It's just the reality that we're living in. So,
this week's episode is brought to you by Aftershoot, and I have an exciting announcement that Aftershoot is launching AI retouching, which is now in public beta and it's free to use now until September 2025. So this adds a powerful finishing layer to the Aftershoot workflow. Now photographers can cull, edit, and retouch all in one tool without extra costs or the need for additional software. So a few key features with their AI retouching. It has skin smoothing for the face and body, which preserves natural texture, blemish and acne removal, flyaway hair cleanup, glasses glare removal, and it's built right into Aftershoot's existing workflow. So I'm super excited to partner with Aftershoot for this podcast. Specifically, the retouching tool is really awesome. Basically, what it does is you're able to import your edited JPEGs into Aftershoot, and there's like these little sliders for flyaways and face brightening and eye brightening and all the things, and it does such a good job. It's very, very fast, and something that would take me like a really, really long time in Lightroom, it does in seconds in Aftershoot. So their retouching tool is now available. And like I said, it is free until September. So go give it a try. The link to sign up for Aftershoot is in the description of this episode, and use Cassidy for a percentage off. All right, back to the show.
That's your step 2. You're going to set your take home goal. Step 3 then is knowing your booking capacity. So I'm kind of setting you guys up with this equation, if you can't tell, but your booking capacity is how much can you physically take on every year that you feel comfortable with, that you know you'll be able to handle, and that's sustainable for you. So let's say for you, it is 20 weddings a year, or let's say it's 20 weddings plus 20 shoots. Okay. Something like that. And this is where I'm talking about, where I'm saying this is kind of a step 2. If you are a beginner photographer and you are just trying to figure out your portfolio and all that, focus on that first. This step is then being like, okay, last year I shot 30 weddings and I did 50 shoots. Okay. And that I felt burnout last year. So let's figure out what number actually makes sense for me based on your previous experiences. Okay. So knowing your booking capacity is very important. So for this example, we're going to say it's 20 weddings a year is what you're going to take. So remember, I said you need to make $120,000 in order to take home $75K. So $120,000 divided by 20 weddings. So you're taking that total number that you need to make and bring in from photography, divided by the number of shoots that you're willing to take, your booking capacity. 120K divided by 20 equals a $6,000 minimum per wedding to hit that goal. So that's giving you a price of, okay, if I were to hit my goal every year and I were to hit my ideal pricing, so $6,000 per wedding, 20 weddings, that's going to help me hit my goal of 120K. Now, if you're hearing that and let's say you're like, you know what, that's a little too high. I'm not comfortable with that. Okay, so let's say then you lower it to $5,000. Okay, so let's do the math here on that. How do I do the math on that? Am I actually dumb? Hold on, let me think. No, I got it. So you would need to take 24 weddings a year. So as you lower that package price, the number of shoots that you need to take on goes up. So it really is this dance of trying to find the equilibrium of how many shoots can I take where I don't feel burnout, but I'm still taking enough, and what can my price be at where people are still willing to book me, but it's not too high, it's not too low. It is this happy medium of finding those two price points. Okay. So step 4 then is building packages with that number in mind. So the first number I gave you guys was $6,000 per wedding. This day and age, I don't think that's ridiculous at all. In fact, I would say that's pretty average. So your starting price should be close to or above that minimum. Now, whether or not that makes you feel comfortable or not, it's kind of up to you. If you feel like 6,000 is low for your work, okay, great. Maybe starting first package price is 6,500 and then you go up to like 7,000 or whatever. But if you feel like, you know what, 6,000 kind of feels high, maybe 6,000 is your middle package price, and then you have a little bit of a lower tier package that's like 5,000 or something like that. So maybe then you need to take on an extra 1 or 2 weddings to kind of make up for that little gap. You want to make sure you offer high tier packages that are above your average booking price. Because number one, you never know who's going to book it. Number two, you might end up finding out, oh, my high tier package is actually my most popular. So maybe my prices are a little skewed. Number three, if you have a higher tier wedding package that is above that $6,000 that you need to make, what that does is it allows wiggle room. It allows you space if you only end up booking 19 weddings or 18 weddings. Maybe that's okay because you booked a couple of weddings a little bit higher than average. So it kind of, fixes itself and allows you to still hit your goal. Don't forget that you have time spent per client as well. So including consult calls, travel, admin, editing, all of those things factor into it too. So remember, if you want to make $75,000 a year take home, and let's say you only are charging $2,000 a wedding. Okay. Some of you guys listening probably only charge $2,000 a wedding. You would need to shoot 60 weddings a year in order to hit your $75,000 goal. Okay. 60 weddings a year. Let's do the math on that. Cause there's 52 weeks in a year, right? I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. Okay. Yeah. There's 52 weeks a year. You would need to be shooting, and that's assuming you would shoot every single weekend too. You need to shoot multiple weddings weekend for the year. That's actually crazy. 60 weddings would be actually insane. It's not sustainable. You really can't do it unless you're Superman, unless you have a large associate team. That's the only way you can do it. Like, there's no way you can crank out good quality images while you're doing that. Like, you're gonna get burnt out for sure. Okay, maybe not like you can't take good quality photos, but you're not going to be able to intentionally like think through your editing and all of that and be intentional and precise when you're a machine. You're just cranking out these edits. Like, that sounds so crazy. So, let's do another real life example. We're going to change the numbers a little bit. So, you're a wedding photographer, you want to make $70,000 a year. Okay. So we're going to add 30% for taxes as well, which is going to equal 91,000 already. So if you make 91,000 from photography and just take away the taxes, that's going to make you hit the 70K. And then we're going to add around like 15,000 for your expenses that year. So you would need 106,000 in revenue in order to hit 70,000. So if you want to shoot a maximum, let's say, of 25 weddings that year, you would need to be booking weddings at $4,240 as a minimum base package price. If you add a few upgrades for like 5,000 or whatever, your average booking can become closer to 5, and then you've created room to breathe and not just survive, which is nice. We all love breathing. So knowing your minimum package price, knowing that cost of whatever it is, 6,000, 4,000, whatever, allows you to price yourself with much more clarity. So I want to talk about a few pricing mistakes real quick that you should try to avoid. So number one is charging what you would pay rather than what your client would pay. So what I mean by that is you are not your client. Okay. So don't base it off of your feeling. Oh, I feel like this is too high. I wouldn't book someone at this price, because maybe you're low-key a low budget photographer. Like, maybe, I'm sorry, not, that was confusing. Maybe you as a consumer are more of a low budget, book a low budget photographer type of person. Okay. But you as a photographer, you're more high end. Okay. So like, don't base it off of how you feel, because most likely if you've got even a hint of imposter syndrome, you're going to think your prices are too high. And it never does anyone any good by not believing in what you offer, right? It doesn't do you any good. Okay. Underestimating the time that you spend per shoot. This is a very common mistake. Just judging your pricing based on the actual wedding package time, or like the actual package time, instead of thinking about the shooting time, the admin time, all of that, the editing time, like factoring all of it in. That's a very common mistake that people make. Not raising your prices over time. Also a very common mistake. Raise your prices over time slowly. If your prices are working for you, that is great. I am so happy for you. But slowly, just start raising those prices, because as time goes by, you're gaining more experience, you're becoming more valuable. You're like a bottle of wine, okay? You are aging with value, okay? So start acting like it. Start raising your prices as if you are a bottle of wine, okay? Another common mistake is that people price emotionally instead of strategically. Need I say more? Stop pricing with your emotions, people. Okay, so we're going to do also a rapid fire FAQ. Probably most of you have thought these questions before. Maybe some of you guys know the answers, but I'm just going to go through them real quick. A common question is, should I post my photography package prices online? My answer is always yes. How in depth you go with that pricing is up to you. But my recommendation is have at least a general ballpark of what your packages start at on your website. The reason you're going to do this is, number one, it gets rid of price shoppers. So it gets rid of those budget people who are just looking for the best deal out there. There's nothing necessarily wrong with that if you're a client that does that, but as a photographer, by posting your prices on your website, that's going to eliminate the people that are not in your budget. So they're not even going to reach out to you. So they're not going to waste your time. Okay. So I think transparency is really important when it comes to pricing on your website. And like I said, it doesn't have to be a full in-depth, here's how many photos you get, here's the hours and coverage and whatever, and here's the price. Because I think there is some value in having someone email you and reach out, and then you can give them your full pricing, because then you have that direct line of communication with them. They've expressed interest. I think that's really important. But having just a general price range on your website, I think, is important. Another question, what if people ghost me after seeing my prices? And you know what I have to say to that? It's a win, because that's going to take away the unqualified clients. Okay. The unqualified leads that are just going to be wasting your time anyway. So I think it's a win. If people ghost you, like, yeah, it sucks, but they most likely have a reason, and most likely it's going to be price related. I feel like most of the time when I get ghosted, it's always pricing related. Can I still serve budget friendly clients in an ethical way? Well, yes, you can. You can still offer budget friendly packages by doing like associates, having mini sessions, things like that. But don't lower your prices just to be liked by your clients and just to get the bookings. Unless you're in a position where you really need the bookings, don't do it. And have offerings that you can point people to if you do get someone that's on a budget that reaches out to you, someone that's out of your price range. Be like, hey, sorry, like my package prices are $5,000. You're looking for something $3,000, but I actually have an associate package that's $4,000. That if you're interested, here you go. You know? Okay. Last thing I want to talk about is how to raise your prices without losing every inquiry that comes in the door. And I think that's what most people are afraid of when they raise their prices is then losing all the inquiries that come in. So that's what we're going to talk about. And I think this is a big thing that a lot of people feel. I felt this for sure. So you can raise your prices without losing every inquiry by repositioning your value. So instead of just saying, oh, now I cost more, now I charge more, you can explain what's included in your packages or what is the added value that someone is getting by your prices going up. So let's say you offer guides now. Let's say you offer timeline planning. Let's say you have more experience and you can offer a better experience. Maybe you have a better camera or a better turnaround time, or you are including a second shooter, whatever it is. Like that can explain your price increase. Also, raise your prices gradually. If you're someone that's looking to raise your prices, it's got to be gradual. Now, if you are charging $2,000 a wedding and you're booking out 30 weddings every year and you book in like a week and all the spots are taken, that doesn't need to be a gradual increase. You can jump pretty high pretty quickly. Not pretty high, but you could jump up quite a bit because your demand is so high. But if your demand is average and you would like to raise your prices, do it gradually. So raise it up like $200 to $500 every booking, or every quarter. Like that's normal. Okay. So like making it a little bit more of a slow increase. You definitely don't need to jump $2,000 overnight on your packages. Some people can do that, but most people don't and shouldn't do that. Make sure you're updating your messaging too. So a great way to not lose every inquiry is making sure your messaging is updated. So make sure your website or your Instagram has like an upgraded vibe and it reflects that. If you're going to raise your prices, you have to raise up that quality of just the overall experience in general too. And make sure that your portfolio, your copy, your communication matches with your new rate. If you're charging luxury prices, but your branding and your Instagram don't really match that, there's going to be a disconnect and you're going to lose some bookings as a result of that. If you raise your prices, but your branding still feels like the 2022 version of yourself, people are going to feel that disconnect, and that's going to result in you losing inquiries, and it's going to result in people not booking with you. So make sure your brand reflects the new prices that you have. Okay. So a couple of call to actions for you guys. Number one, I do want you to pull out your calculator and do your own pricing math today. I want you to go through that equation. I want you to figure out how much do you want to take home every year? Or maybe not even how much do you want to. What is like the need? What is the bare minimum that you need to take home every year? And then calculate like, okay, this is my maximum. I can take 20 weddings a year. I can do, or maybe maybe you just do shoots or like whatever. Let's say it's like 40 shoots in a year, whatever that number is. And then do the pricing calculator, figure it out for yourself. If you are feeling like your income does not match, your rates don't match your income goals, feel free to change them. Like this is your permission. This is me telling you, if you feel like things don't match, your wedding packages are $2,000, you feel like it doesn't match your income goals, you can change that. You really can. And then if your prices are higher and you're not booking, okay, there are things we need to work on them. We have to work on your marketing. We have to work on the quality of your images. We have to work on your experience, your word of mouth, all those things. Okay. So that's all I have for today's episode. Pricing, there you have it. I hope you feel prepped and ready to just change your prices, up your prices. I know now's the time of year where some people start to really feel the impact of their lack of charging for sessions. So yes, I hope this episode was helpful for you. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening and have an amazing rest of your day.